TVGrace presents the inexpressible words of God, the gospel of grace, on the lips of Jesus Christ man. Abba, Father.
You may be seated, thank you. Let's begin with Romans chapter 12, verse 3. Today's topic is Grace is the Science of God for Humanity. For I say, through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. I would add here, nor more lowly, neither of himself than he ought to think, but to think soberly as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith. Do you know that we deal with many people that have concepts? And when they come to you, sometimes their concepts are heavy. Or you may say, this person is difficult. I'm not liking this. And sometimes there are others that have such a low esteem of themselves, and you say, how poor, I'm saddened that he thinks so lowly of himself. But you know, none of the concepts work, neither the high nor the low. The concept that counts is the one that God has of you, the spiritual one. Because the apostle says that we are angels, that we are treasures in earthen vessels, and a treasure has a lot of value. Now, when you discover the concept you have, or that God has of you, that's the one that's going to make you joyful. And if the concept that God has of you doesn't make you happy, it's that you come ruined from the factory or something is wrong with you. Because in the concept of God, competition doesn't exist. You don't compete. You are who you are. If it's high or low, that doesn't count. What counts is the measure that God gives you. If it's 30, 60, or 100-fold. With that, you are conformed. You are conformed with what God says you are and what you're going to do for Him. And you do it with joy. Let's look. There is something that calls my attention in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 14, verse 20. When you discover the concept that God has of you. In verse 20, there is a way of thinking. It says, brethren, do not be children in understanding. However, in malice be children, but in understanding be mature. You know that if you are mature and you think correctly, you're not malicious. You know that being malicious is something that's unpleasant. You know those people that think they know it all, that say, oh, this man is not going to fool me, no, I. And they walk in malice. Now, if you have your way of thinking in the measure of faith you have, then you don't have to walk in malice. You don't have to walk defending yourself if they're fooling you, if they're deceiving you, if they do or not do. No, one of the things that, for an example, in my personal case, I have many learning centers and bishops all around the world. And sometimes one may want to control them all. A full control. However, you must trust. You have to trust that that bishop is faithful, that everyone is faithful. An apostle, what if they're deceiving you? There's not a problem. Here, no one fools anyone. You're fooling yourself. People that are malicious, they're always harming themselves. It says here that you should be as a child in malice, but mature in your way of thinking. And that keeps you rejuvenated, at peace. Sometimes there are people that ask me, how can you manage so many people and so many situations that arise? Simply, I don't manage them. I am mature in my way of thinking, and the one that guides us is God. I'm not the one that's carrying this load. Not Jose Luis. Look that I don't get involved, but that the Spirit is the one involved. In the like manner, if you are walking in God's rest, you are going to rest in a marvelous way because of your way of thinking. Say, my way of thinking counts. Because everything is in the mind. With the mind and your way of thinking, you will overcome many obstacles in your life. And you will rest, you will be at peace with your way of thinking. It's how you walk in the promises of this covenant. But you have to have a way of thinking, and it should be a mature mindset, not childish. Because the apostle sees that maturity nullifies malice. Maturity nullifies malice. If you work in an office with many people, you have to have a very clean way of thinking because you're going to be seen of others quickly. You're going to manifest your foolishness. You know why? Because if you are malicious, it's because you are demonstrating a measure of faith that's so poor of the covenant you confess. Yes, malice is all of the opposite of living by faith. Because if you live by faith, nothing concerns you. What's for me, no one can take away. Malice is to think evilly. Malice produces competitiveness. Malice produces malice. Because you can't be at peace and you're not confiding in your angels. For you, the angels don't exist because your malice is what replaces the angelic coverage. But if you live at peace and you have no doubt, so then that gives you rest. You don't walk in malice because your way of thinking nullifies those works of the flesh in you. The people who are malicious are unpleasant. A person that has malice is tremendous because you do something, they say, oh, he did it because of me. You say something, oh, he's saying it because of me. No. Don't you see he is always in the defensive side? He don't live by faith. He has no faith, and he sees everyone is against him. Anything that's said, oh, he's saying it because of me, because he lives in malice. He's not in faith. If you are in faith, you lay down, let them say whatever. Let whatever happens, happens. You remember Robert, the one they call Living Stone? Robert used to say, I don't defend myself. He who has the truth does not defend himself. Abba, Father. Let's look to Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. We are speaking about Pauline counsels for your faith or for your measure. So you are not harmed, so you don't lose sight and grieve the Spirit, so that the promises of the Lord come to you, because the angels see all of this going on in your life and you can't walk that way. Romans chapter 12, verse 14 through 21. It says, bless those who persecute you. What are you going to say? You are blessed. Blessed, thank you for persecuting me. Thank you for promoting grace. Blessed and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep. Be of the same mind towards one another. Do not be arrogant. Listen, you know that arrogant people don't fit here. They can come from whatever country and say, from here to heaven, and they can begin to confess grace. Oh, he knows a lot. But when they demonstrate arrogance, immediately you say, the measure of this brother, or it is hidden, or he's going to suffer a lot. Look at what it says, but associate with the humble. I would say only with the humble, because he that's humble, it's not arrogant. He doesn't seek after his own. He's not malicious. Person that's humble doesn't have to be that way. Yes, there are certain characteristics that are going to nullify the works of the flesh, because the grace of God it's the science for our humanity. So grace, when you understand grace and put it to practice, it's going to nullify a lot of the works of the flesh that are going to harm you. It says, associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own opinion. Repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men, if it is possible, because sometimes it can't be done. As much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. Never take your own revenge yourself, beloved. Instead, give place to the wrath, for it has been written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Don't repay. If someone did something, leave it there. Sometimes things are done to me in certain country, and when I'm going to grab the phone, something tells me, what are you going to do? Be calm. Don't make that call. I economize a lot of money in phone calls. I truly economize. I was 5 days out recently, and I think I made 2 phone calls, because instead I resolve it in my way of thinking. What is the idea of calling? Let me give a place so that the other person activates its gift. If I call him, I'm going to be prejudiced against this. I don't know. There's a certain peace you should have with those that associate with you. There should be attitudes in you where if you're not too quick in taking action. That to be in malice, that if he tells you this, make sure he don't, let me know. No, rest. Let them hurt you if it's possible. You've never been deceived. They've deceived me many times, and it's done me well. What is the idea, the competitiveness? Oh, no one takes me as a fool. No, because No, be at peace, rest. Take a little suffering. Relax. Relax. Let them fool you. Let them pass over you a little. It suits you. Let and leave a place for the wrath of God, because when God defends you, He'll defend you. Philippians 4:8. Tips for your measure. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, Whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Our way of thinking. You have to be mature in your way of thinking. Be childlike in malice, but mature in your way of thinking. And how is one mature in their way of thinking? Well, applying the covenant with what you've learned. I'm going to demonstrate maturity here. I'm not going to defend myself nor say a word. Tranquilo, Bobby. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. The angels are with me. I'm not going to move. I'm going to take it easy. Angels, have your own way. Have your way. Take your place. Do as you wish in my life. Here I give you the opportunity to do as you wish in my life. If you truly work, here you have a good candidate. Work with this angel that's here in an earthen vessel. Do that and speak it audibly so you can see the changes that are going to come to your life. There are changes that are noted. It says, the things which you learn and received and heard and saw in me, these do, and the peace of God will be with you. No, it isn't the same. The peace, then the God of peace. Let's finish with the first letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 5 and 7. Say, I have a measure. It can be gold, it can be silver, or it can be precious stone. It can be 30, 60, or 100-fold. The measure you are, take these tips and apply them. It will come to you as gold. It will do good. Rest, be at peace. Apostle is that they failed me many times. It doesn't matter. It's that this happened to me. I've experienced this. Doesn't matter. God called you, not the one you have by your side nor the other. It is you he called, and he demands this fidelity. Verse 5, it says, now the purpose of the commandment is love from a pure heart, from a good conscience. This is only given by grace, a good conscience, and from sincere faith, from which some, having strayed, have turned aside to fairy tales, desiring to be teachers of the law, understanding neither what they say nor the things which they affirm. You know that unsincere faith, you see that every day on television, the radio. You see it in a brother that just arrived. That sometimes you want to speak to him about grace, and he says, no, since I've been a child, I believed in God. But without knowledge. Oh, no, I serve God my way. In the churches of today, this type of people abound, that they speak to you about the word of God and things, but it is an unsincere faith. They're very unsincere. You know why? Because grace has not been revealed in their hearts, so therefore they have not been formed. They're phenomena in the church. Phenomena in society that have not changed. These folks, I run into them in my flights, and sometimes they're very elegant and well-dressed, but when they speak, they're very impressive in the way they dress, with the way they comb themselves, their personality. They're very elegant, but when you sit by them, say, man, I must have the greatest executive by my side, until they open their mouth. As one that carries a Bible or says that he's been a Christian for many years, and when you speak to them and you begin to speak, you notice so much hypocrisy. Everything is unsincere. It says a heart born of purity and a clean conscience, that when somebody speaks to you, doesn't see wavering, that they can see that you're sincere. It doesn't matter what they see in you, but that they see that you are sincere, because the angels will be with you at all times, serving you. And that measure that was the one that God gave you, that measure will inherit all the promises that God has given you. Faith that's not an unsincere faith. How sad when you see these Christians speaking about how much they love God. I remember when I belonged to the system, when you go to a restaurant, it is obligated that you pray. So to fulfill an attitude of giving thanks to God, you make those that are not praying feel terrible. Oh Lord, I give you thanks for this food. And they start to pray long prayers, and no one dares to say anything. I don't dare pray in a restaurant, and it's not that I don't dare. I dare open the Bible and begin to preach. But for respect to those folks, I'd rather be silent in a silent way. I can thank God. How great this food tastes. Sometimes you go to a restaurant and the food isn't the best, but sometimes, oh, the steak is delicious. Thank you, Father. But that to pray audibly so everybody hears you, that's what the Pharisees did. Prayed long prayers to be seen by others. Hey, blessed, humbled, blessed. Humbled, blessed. Be humble. Don't be malicious. Walk in tranquility. You know that there are many people that come here and hear things of us, and so they come to be served. They come like that, and sometimes they stop coming, and then you hear of them. How is that brother doing? Man, he's going through some challenges. Once you come through here, that is a predestined act that you arrive here, and he has plans to work with you. You leave here, and I'll anticipate all of the bad that's going to happen to you. Tell me, I don't receive it. If you leave, though you say, I don't receive it, you're going to go through challenges. Because, look, in a church where the grace of God is preached, God brings you there to put you like in an oven to bring out your measure. And you know all of the things that you bring from your family, from your country, all of those contaminations that arrive with you, that has to be removed, my love. And that has to be removed in a bad or in a good way. But we're going to remove it because we want you here with us. The Word wants to work in you, and how precious when 1, 2, 3 years go by and you speak with you. And what a delight to speak with you, and you find such a precious relationship. It takes some time because you got to remove all that crust, that web in the ear. You think that your family without the gospel is not going to harm you? They can be the most precious parents, but without this knowledge, they're going to harm you. All nations have been deceived and ruined. They're masters of flesh. That's why those in Asia, you saw what happened in Asia? I'm saddened by that. But recently I spoke about a vision that God gave me in Asia, and I saw many trailers that said Asia, Asia, Asia going by, and there were huge train trailers. And I said, I don't need so many trailers to go to Asia with a flight. It's enough. But there were trailers to pick up dead bodies, as God had warned me. God has told me that's going to happen. And those people, Paul said, those of Asia, all of them abandoned me. They're people that have been ruined. And that's why many things of that type happen. And God is not done with that yet, because God is going to cleanse the earth. Isaiah says it. The prophets say it. They will burn like an oven because of how proud and wicked they are. Because God has a people he's protected for himself. And listen. And he has brought you here to enrich you. Many people think that we are a false religion. And if we were to be false, we are the best false prophets. And if they were false teachings, this would be the most precious false teachings we could have ever received, because it comes from the Word. But the world, the whole world, is being exposed for the first time to the gospel. I read those books that they write of me and make comments of me, and they begin to speak. No, that the leader is a Puerto Rican, that he says he is God. Have I said that I'm God? I've never called myself anything. You, the church, have called me. I've never tried to be anybody. So therefore, bless, simply put it in practice. It's going to go well for you. Rest, be humble, bless, and without malice. From on now, look, I'm at peace. I'm not thinking anything.